The crash. In the year 2145, Earth was a bustling planet filled with people and technology. Skyscrapers touched the sky, and flying cars zipped through the air. The world had come a long way, mastering space travel and exploring distant galaxies. But in the midst of this advanced civilization, something extraordinary was about to happen. Jake Thompson was a young engineer, passionate about space and all its mysteries. One sunny afternoon, he took a break from his work at the Space Research Facility. As he stepped outside, he noticed a strange light flickering in the sky. Curious, he squinted and followed the glowing object. It seemed to be spiraling down towards the forest on the outskirts of the city. What could that be? Jake wondered, his heart racing with excitement. Without thinking twice, he hopped into his hover car and sped towards the woods. The air was filled with the scent of pine trees and adventure as he navigated through the narrow paths. As Jake approached the crash site, he saw a large metallic object embedded in the ground. It was unlike anything he had ever seen before, shiny and smooth, with strange symbols etched on its surface. The sound of hissing and crackling filled the air, making it clear that the ship was damaged. With cautious steps, Jake approached the wreckage. He could see smoke rising from the ship and hear faint noises inside. Suddenly, a hatch on the side popped open, and Jake stepped back in surprise. Out of the smoke emerged a figure. It was a girl, but she was unlike any human he had ever seen. She had green skin, large violet eyes, and pointed ears. Her hair flowed like silver waves, shimmering in the sunlight. She looked around, confused and frightened. "Who are you?" Jake asked, his voice steady but full of awe. The girl turned to him, her expression a mix of fear and defiance. "I am Silara of the Zinthar race. And you are a worthless monkey." Jake's eyes widened. He had heard about aliens in stories and movies, but never had he imagined meeting one. "I'm not a monkey. I'm a human, and you need help," he replied, trying to keep his cool. Silara narrowed her eyes, clearly not trusting him. "Help? From a creature like you? I think not." Jake took a deep breath, realizing he needed to earn her trust. "Listen, I can help you fix your ship. You don't have to be scared. Let's get you out of here." Silara hesitated, glancing back at the wreckage. She knew she was alone on this strange planet, and staying hidden wasn't an option. Reluctantly, she stepped closer. "You're not like the others I've heard about," she said cautiously. "Others?" Jake asked, intrigued. "Your kind is known for destruction and greed," she replied, her voice firm. "I didn't expect to find someone who might actually care." Jake felt a pang of sadness. He wanted to show Silara that humans were capable of kindness and bravery. "Not all humans are like that. Let me prove it to you. We can work together." Silara studied him for a moment, her expression softening. Finally, she nodded. "Very well. But I will be watching you closely, human." As they began to work together, Jake felt a spark of hope. Maybe, just maybe, this alien girl would see the good in him and his kind. Little did they know, this was just the beginning of an incredible adventure that would change both their lives forever. Strange feelings. As Jake and Silara worked together to repair the damaged spaceship, the forest around them buzzed with life. Birds chirped in the trees, and the gentle rustle of leaves filled the air. Jake was determined to help Silara, but he also felt something else stirring inside him, something he had never expected. Silara was unlike anyone he had ever met. Despite her initial harsh words, Jake could see a spark of strength in her. As she focused on the ship, her violet eyes narrowed in concentration, and her fingers moved gracefully over the broken parts. He couldn't help but admire her skills. She was smart and capable, and he felt a strange warmth growing in his chest every time she looked his way. "What are you staring at, human?" Silara said, breaking his thoughts. She raised an eyebrow, her expression playful yet fierce. Just admiring your, technical skills," Jake replied, trying to sound casual. He was surprised by how much he wanted to impress her. Scilara rolled her eyes but smiled slightly. You humans have a strange way of showing interest, but I suppose I'll take the compliment. Jake chuckled, feeling a sense of ease growing between them. They began to chat as they worked. Scilara shared stories about her home planet, Zentvar, a vibrant world filled with colorful landscapes and advanced technology. We have cities that float in the sky and oceans that glow at night, she explained, her eyes lighting up. But we also have dangers, just like your Earth. Really? What kind of dangers? Jake asked, intrigued. Other alien races, Scilara said with a frown. They are not always friendly. That's why I was sent on this mission alone, to gather information. I did not expect to crash and be stuck here. Jake felt a pang of sympathy. I'm sorry you ended up here, but you're not alone anymore. I'll help you get back home. For a moment, Scilara looked at him, and something changed in her expression. The defensiveness began to fade. Thank you, Jake. I appreciate it, she said softly. As they continued their work, the air around them felt charged with unspoken feelings. Jake noticed how Scilara's laughter was like music, and how her smile could light up even the darkest corners of his heart. He found himself wanting to protect her, to show her the humans could be different from what she had been told. But Scilara was still cautious. She often caught herself staring at Jake when he wasn't looking. He was so passionate about everything he did, and there was a kindness in his eyes that made her feel safe. Yet, she reminded herself to keep her guard up. She had been taught to distrust humans, and she couldn't let her feelings cloud her judgment. One evening, as they took a break from their repairs, Jake pulled out a small snack he had packed earlier. Want to try some human food? He asked, offering her a piece of dried fruit. Scilara hesitated but then took a small bite. To her surprise, it was sweet and delicious. This is not bad for a monkey's food, she teased, her eyes sparkling. Jake laughed, feeling a warmth spread through him. See, we're not so bad after all. As the sun set, casting a warm glow over the forest, Jake and Scilara sat side by side, sharing stories and laughter. In that moment, they both felt something shift between them, an understanding that went beyond words. Each had come from different worlds, but they were finding a connection neither had expected. As night fell, the stars began to twinkle in the sky, and with them, new feelings emerged. Jake realized he was starting to care for Scilara in a way that was deeper than friendship, while Scilara fought against the warmth in her heart, still unsure of what it all meant. Together, they were on a journey not just to fix a ship, but to discover each other and the unexpected bonds that were forming in the dark of space. Growing friendship. As the days passed, Jake and Scilara spent more time together, working on the damaged spaceship. The forest felt alive with their laughter and conversations. Each day brought new challenges, but together they tackled every obstacle, building a bond that neither had anticipated. Jake was amazed by how quickly he had grown fond of Scilara. Her unique perspective on life fascinated him. She often spoke about her home planet, Zentvar, sharing stories of its floating cities and bioluminescent oceans. On Zentvar, we have festivals that last for weeks. We celebrate the beauty of our world and the stars, she said, her eyes shining with excitement. That sounds incredible, Jake exclaimed. We have festivals here too, but they are nothing compared to what you describe. I wish I could see it someday. Maybe one day you will, Scilara replied, a hint of hope in her voice. As they worked, Jake found himself stealing glances at Scilara. She was more than just an alien. She was a companion, a friend. He loved her spirit and her determination to fix the ship. Each time she smiled or laughed, his heart skipped a beat. He couldn't help but feel a connection growing between them. Scilara noticed Jake's kindness and determination. He was always ready to help her, whether it was finding tools or figuring out how to repair a broken part. With every passing day, her initial distrust faded. She began to see Jake not just as a human, but as someone she could trust. One afternoon, while working on the ship's control panel, Silara accidentally dropped a tool. It fell into a muddy puddle, splashing dirt everywhere. "Great, just great," she groaned, wiping her hands on her clothes. Jake chuckled at her frustration. "Don't worry, I've got a trick for that." He walked over to the puddle, picked up the tool, and then gently splashed water to clean it off. "See? No big deal," he said, grinning. Silara couldn't help but smile back. "You're surprisingly good at this, for a worthless monkey." Jake laughed, feeling a rush of happiness. "You know, I think you're starting to like me." "Don't get ahead of yourself," Silara replied playfully, though her eyes sparkled with amusement. As the days turned into weeks, their friendship blossomed. They shared more about their lives, their dreams, and their fears. One evening, as they sat around a small campfire they had built, Silara opened up about her past. "I was chosen to go on this mission because I am strong and skilled," she said softly. "But I was also scared. I didn't want to leave my family behind." Jake listened intently, feeling a wave of empathy wash over him. "I understand. I sometimes feel alone too. My work can be overwhelming, and I miss my family when I'm focused on my projects." Silara nodded, her expression thoughtful. "It's hard to be far from home, but maybe we can make new friends along the way." Jake smiled, realizing that their friendship had grown deeper. "I think we already have," he said. The fire crackled as they exchanged stories late into the night. Silara's laughter filled the air, and Jake felt a warmth in his heart that he couldn't ignore. He realized that Silara had become more than just a companion. She was someone he genuinely cared for. One day, while they were repairing a broken engine part, Jake caught Silara looking at him with an intensity he hadn't seen before. "What's on your mind?" he asked, curious. "I was just thinking about how different we are. Yet here we are, working together," she replied. "You've shown me that not all humans are bad. I've learned so much from you." Jake felt a flutter of joy. "And I've learned a lot from you too. You've opened my eyes to a whole new world." As they looked at each other, a moment of silence passed between them, filled with understanding and unspoken feelings. In that moment, they knew that their friendship was something special, a bond that could bridge the gap between their worlds. Together, they were not just repairing a spaceship, they were building a friendship that would last long after they left the forest. Danger approaches. As the sun rose over the forest, Jake and Silara continued their work on the spaceship. The past few weeks had been filled with laughter, learning, and growing friendship. They felt closer than ever, but little did they know, danger was lurking just beyond the trees. One afternoon, while they were busy fixing the ship's power core, Silara suddenly stopped and looked up. "Do you hear that?" she asked, her voice tense. Jake paused, his heart racing. "Hear what?" "It sounds like engines," Silara replied, her eyes scanning the treetops. "Not from our ship. Something is coming." Jake listened carefully and felt a chill run down his spine. The distant sound of engines grew louder, and a sense of unease settled in the pit of his stomach. "We need to hide," he said urgently. "If it's other aliens, they might be looking for you." Without wasting a second, they quickly ducked behind a thick cluster of bushes. Jake's heart pounded in his chest as he peered through the leaves. Soon, a group of ships appeared in the sky, flying low over the forest. Their sleek, dark designs contrasted sharply with the bright blue sky. "What are they?" Jake whispered, his eyes wide with fear. "They are hunters," Silara said, her voice shaking slightly. "They hunt for my kind. We must be careful." Jake nodded, knowing the urgency of the situation. As they watched, the ships landed in a small clearing nearby. A group of armored aliens stepped out, their faces hidden behind dark helmets. They moved with purpose, scanning the area as if searching for something or someone. "This is bad," Jake murmured. "We need to get to the ship and leave." Silara bit her lip, fear flickering in her violet eyes. But if they see us, we'll be captured. I can't go back to them. Jake took a deep breath, trying to think clearly. Okay, we need a plan. Let's wait until they move away from the clearing. Then we can sneak to the ship. They remained hidden, watching the hunters as they searched the area. The tension was thick in the air, and Jake could feel Silara's fear. What if they find us? She whispered, her voice barely above a breath. They won't, Jake assured her, trying to sound brave even though he felt scared too. We'll stick together. Just trust me. As the hunters continued their search, Jake's mind raced. He couldn't let anything happen to Silara. He had come to care for her deeply, and the thought of losing her sent a wave of determination through him. They were in this together. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the hunters moved deeper into the forest, their voices fading. Now's our chance, Jake said, his heart pounding with adrenaline. Quietly, they slipped from their hiding spot and darted towards the spaceship. Each step felt like a leap of faith as they tried to remain unseen. Jake glanced back, hoping the hunters wouldn't return. Once they reached the ship, Jake quickly activated the emergency power system. The lights flickered to life, and a low hum filled the air. We need to work fast, he urged Silara. If we can get the engines running, we can escape. Silara nodded, her face a mix of fear and determination. Together, they hurried to the engine room. Jake's hands moved swiftly as he checked the systems, while Silara assisted, her alien knowledge proving invaluable. But just as they were making progress, a loud bang echoed outside the ship. They both froze, hearts racing. Jake glanced at Silara, who looked terrified. They found us, she exclaimed. Jake's mind raced with fear. They had to act fast. We can't let them in, he said. We need to get the engines running now. Silara focused, her hands moving over the control panel with practiced ease. I can help, but you need to cover the entrance. Jake nodded, grabbing a nearby tool as he rushed to the door. The sound of footsteps grew louder, and he could hear the hunters yelling to each other outside. He stood ready, determined to protect Silara at all costs. Just a few more seconds. Silara shouted, her fingers flying over the controls. As the door rattled from the outside, Jake felt a surge of fear and bravery. They had come too far to let it all end here. He would do whatever it took to keep Silara safe. Running away. The sound of pounding footsteps grew louder outside the spaceship, sending a jolt of fear through Jake. He could hear the hunters shouting to each other, their voices filled with anger and determination. We have to move now, he urged Silara, his heart racing. I'm almost done, Silara replied, her fingers flying over the control panel. The lights on the console blinked, and the ship hummed with energy. Jake could see the determination in her eyes, but he knew they were running out of time. Suddenly, the door shook violently, and Jake braced himself, gripping the tool tightly. Hurry, Silara. We don't have much time. With one final push, Silara pressed a button, and the ship roared to life. Yes, the engines are starting, she shouted, relief washing over her face. Let's go, Jake yelled, rushing back to the control panel. He quickly strapped himself into the pilot's seat, his hands trembling with excitement and fear. Silara joined him, her expression a mix of anxiety and hope. Just as Jake began to pull the controls, the door burst open. 3 armored hunters stormed into the ship, weapons raised. Stop! You can't escape, one of them shouted. Jake's heart dropped, but he refused to give up. We have to go now, he shouted to Silara. Silara's eyes widened in fear, but she quickly focused. I'll activate the shields. Just get us off the ground. With shaking hands, Jake pulled back on the controls. The ship began to lift off the ground, and he could feel the rush of adrenaline coursing through him. The hunters shouted and tried to shoot at them, but Silara activated the shoot shields just in time. A loud bang echoed through the cabin, but they were safe. For now. Keep going, Jake. Silara urged, her voice steady despite the chaos. We need to get higher. He pushed the throttle, and the ship soared into the sky. The trees below shrank away as they climbed higher and higher. Jake glanced back through the window and saw the hunters below, their angry shouts fading as the ship ascended. We did it, Jake exclaimed, a wave of relief washing over him. We're safe. But Silara's face was tense. Not yet. They will follow us. We need to move fast and find a place to hide. Jake nodded, focusing on the controls. He piloted the ship away from the forest and into the vastness of the sky. They flew over hills and valleys, searching for a safe spot to land. Look. Silara pointed toward a rocky mountain range in the distance. There, we can hide there. Jake steered the ship toward the mountains, adrenaline pumping through his veins. As they neared the rocky cliffs, he spotted a small cave hidden behind a waterfall. There, we can hide in that cave. Good eye, Jake, Silara said, her voice full of hope. Let's go. With careful precision, Jake maneuvered the ship down, landing it safely inside the cave. As the engines powered down, they both let out a sigh of relief. They sat in silence for a moment, letting the reality of their escape sink in. Jake turned to Silara, who looked both relieved and exhausted. We made it, he said softly. Yes, but we can't stay here for long, Silara replied, her expression serious. They will search for us. We need to come up with a plan. Jake nodded, feeling the weight of the moment. What do you think we should do? We need to find a way to communicate with my people, Silara said, her eyes focused. If they know I'm here, they can help us. But first, we must stay hidden. Jake agreed, feeling a sense of purpose. Let's rest for now and gather our strength. We've been through a lot. As they sat in the dim light of the cave, they both felt a mix of fear and determination. They had escaped the hunters, but the danger was far from over. Together, they would find a way to survive and fight back. In that moment, their friendship grew even stronger, binding them together in the face of the unknown. Sharing stories. As Jake and Silara settled into the cool, dark cave, the rush of their escape began to fade, replaced by a deep exhaustion. The dim light filtered in through the waterfall outside, casting dancing shadows on the cave walls. They both needed a moment to breathe and collect their thoughts. We're safe for now, Jake said, leaning back against the cave wall. But we need to figure out our next move. Silara nodded, her eyes still wide with adrenaline. Yes, but first, we should rest. After that, I want to share more about my world with you. Jake smiled, happy to shift the focus away from their danger. I'd like that. I want to know more about Zinthar. Silara took a deep breath, her expression softening. Zinthar is a beautiful place. It's covered in bright colors, with plants and creatures that glow in the dark. We have floating cities that drift in the clouds, and the sky is often filled with vibrant rainbows. Wow, that sounds amazing, Jake exclaimed. What else? What do your people do for fun? Silara's face lit up as she spoke. We have many festivals. There's one called the Festival of Lights. For this festival, we create beautiful lanterns that float into the sky. It's said that each lantern carries our wishes and dreams to the stars. That sounds magical, Jake said, imagining the colorful lanterns lighting up the night sky. We have festivals here too, but they're different. They often celebrate our culture, like music and food. We have a festival called the 4th of July where we light fireworks and have barbecues. It's all about family and friends coming together. Silara listened intently, fascinated by his stories. Fireworks? What are those? Jake grinned. They are loud explosions of light in the sky. They make beautiful shapes and colors, and everyone gathers to watch them. It's a big celebration. Silara tilted her head, intrigued. I would like to see that one day. It sounds very festive. As they shared their stories, the atmosphere in the cave began to lighten. Jake could feel the bond between them growing stronger. They were not just two beings from different worlds. They were friends sharing parts of their lives. After a while, Silara grew quiet. Jake noticed her expression change, becoming more serious. "What is it?" he asked gently. Silara looked down, her fingers fidgeting with the edges of her clothing. "I have not told you everything about my mission. I was sent to gather information about Earth. My people wanted to understand if humans were a threat to us." Jake felt a knot form in his stomach. "You were spying on us?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady. "Yes," she admitted, her eyes filled with regret. "But being here with you has changed my perspective. I have seen kindness and bravery that I did not expect from a human." Jake took a deep breath, processing her words. "I get it. You had a job to do. But I hope you see now that not all humans are like that. We all have our flaws, but we can also be good." Silara nodded, grateful for his understanding. "I see that now. You have shown me that friendship can cross any boundary, even between our worlds." They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of their shared stories hanging in the air. Jake felt a sense of hope growing inside him. They were building a bridge of understanding, one story at a time. "Tell me more about your people," Jake said, wanting to keep the conversation going. "What do you value most?" Silara thought for a moment, then replied, "We value unity and connection. Our strength lies in our ability to work together, to support each other. I believe humans can do the same. You showed me that." Jake smiled, feeling a warmth spread in his heart. "And you showed me that we can learn from each other. Together, we are stronger." As they continued to share stories, the cave felt less like a hiding place and more like a sanctuary. In that moment, surrounded by the echoes of their laughter and the sound of the waterfall, they realized they were not just allies. They were friends bound by a shared journey and a growing understanding of one another. The night was still ahead of them, but together, they felt ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Taking a stand, the cool air in the cave began to feel charged with determination as Jake and Silara shared their stories. Hours passed, and as the moonlight seeped through the waterfall, illuminating their hidden sanctuary, Jake felt a spark of courage igniting within him. "We can't just hide here forever," Jake said, breaking the comfortable silence. "If those hunters are searching for you, they might come back. We need to take a stand." Silara nodded, her expression thoughtful. "You are right. I cannot return to Zinthar empty-handed. I was sent to gather information, but now I want to fight back against those who threaten us." Jake felt a rush of excitement. "So what's the plan? We can't just sit and wait for them to find us. We need to show them we won't be pushed around." Silara smiled, a glimmer of hope in her violet eyes. "We need to find a way to contact my people. They will know how to help us. If we can signal them, they can send a ship to rescue me. And to help you too." "Okay, let's do it," Jake said, his heart pounding with determination. "But we need to be careful. The hunters might be closer than we think." Together, they devised a plan. They would gather materials from the ship to create a signal device that Silara could use to communicate with her people. With every moment they spent together, Jake felt a growing sense of purpose. He wanted to protect Silara and show her that humans could be allies, not enemies. They quickly moved back to the ship, the adrenaline pushing them forward. Inside, Silara pointed out the pieces they could use. "We can repurpose the communication array and the energy core. If we can channel enough power, we might be able to send a strong enough signal." Jake nodded, feeling the weight of their task ahead. "Let's get to work." They worked side by side, their movements synchronized as they gathered parts and tools. Jake was amazed at how quickly Silara adapted to the technology, her hands moving skillfully as she explained each step. "This will amplify the signal," she said, holding up a small device. "But we need to make sure it's safe from detection." As they continued their work, Jake's mind raced with thoughts of the hunters. "What if they come back before we finish?" he asked, a hint of worry in his voice. "We'll have to be ready," Silara replied, her tone steady. "I can fight if I have to. I have trained for combat back on Zinthar." Jake felt a surge of admiration for her bravery. "You're strong, Silara, but I want to protect you. I can help too. I may not be as skilled, but I won't let them take you." She looked at him, her expression softening. "You've already helped me more than you know. Your courage inspires me, Jake." As they neared the completion of the device, the sound of engines suddenly echoed outside the cave. Jake's heart dropped. "They're back," he hissed, glancing at Silara, who quickly moved to hide behind a nearby crate. He grabbed a tool, ready to defend her if necessary. The footsteps grew louder, and Jake could hear the hunters' voices. "We know you're in there. Come out and surrender," one of them shouted. Jake's grip tightened on the tool. "We can't let them find us," he whispered urgently. Silara took a deep breath, her eyes fierce. "We can't run anymore, Jake. It's time to stand and fight." As the hunters closed in, Jake felt a rush of adrenaline. "Okay, together, we'll show them what we can do." They positioned themselves behind the crates, ready for whatever came next. The hunters entered the cave, their shadows stretching across the walls. "Search everywhere," one ordered. Jake and Silara exchanged a determined glance. They knew they had to protect each other and fight for their freedom. "On my count," Jake whispered. 1, 2, 3. With that, they sprang into action. Jake leaped out from behind the crates, swinging the tool at the nearest hunter. Silara, fueled by determination, rushed forward, using her agility and training to evade the others. The cave erupted into chaos as they took a stand against the hunters. It was a fight for survival, a test of their friendship, and a declaration that they would not back down. Together, they fought with everything they had, proving that even in the face of danger, they were a team ready to stand strong. The showdown, the cave filled with chaos as Jake and Silara prepared for the confrontation with the hunters. The tension in the air was thick, and both knew that this moment would define their fight for freedom. Jake took a deep breath, steadying himself. He had never been in a fight like this before, but he felt a fire burning inside him. Silara was by his side, her presence giving him strength. They were united, ready to protect each other no matter what. The first hunter charged at Jake, swinging a heavy weapon. Jake ducked just in time, feeling the rush of air as the weapon missed him. He quickly countered with his tool, swinging it at the hunter's legs. The hunter stumbled, falling to the ground with a thud. "Nice move," Silara shouted, her eyes sparkling with excitement. She darted past Jake, using her speed to evade another hunter. With quick, fluid movements, she kicked at the hunter's knees, forcing him to lose his balance. Jake couldn't help but admire her skills. "Keep it up. We can take them," he yelled, adrenaline pumping through his veins. But there were too many hunters. As Jake took down one, another approached from behind. He turned just in time to see a fist coming toward him. He barely managed to block it, but the force of the blow sent him stumbling backward. He hit the wall of the cave, pain shooting through his back. "Jake!" Silara cried out, rushing to his side. She fought fiercely, her movements precise and determined. She pushed the hunter away from Jake, giving him a chance to recover. "I'm okay," he said, shaking off the dizziness. He looked around, spotting the remaining hunters. They were regrouping, their eyes narrowed with anger. "We have to end this now." Silara nodded, her expression fierce. "Let's show them what we're made of." Together, they moved in unison, each anticipating the other's actions. Jake focused on the hunters approaching from the left, while Silara handled those on the right. They communicated with nods and glances, their teamwork becoming second nature. As the fight intensified, the hunters began to underestimate them. Jake seized the opportunity. "We can't let them think they have the upper hand," he shouted. Silara agreed, her eyes gleaming with determination. "Let's push them back. With a sudden burst of energy, they charged toward the hunters, catching them off guard. Jake swung his tool again, this time with more force, while Scylla delivered a swift kick to another hunter, sending him crashing into the wall. But the hunters were relentless. One of them managed to grab Scylla by the arm, yanking her back. "You'll pay for this," he snarled, raising his weapon. "Let her go," Jake yelled, anger boiling inside him. He rushed forward, ready to fight back. In that moment, he felt a surge of strength he didn't know he had. With a quick move, he knocked the weapon out of the hunter's hand. The weapon clattered to the ground, and Scylla seized the moment. She twisted free from the hunter's grip and elbowed him in the stomach, sending him reeling backward. Jake and Scylla stood together, breathing heavily, but determined. "We can't stop now," Jake said, his voice steady. "We need to finish this." With a final push, they attacked the remaining hunters. Jake could feel the adrenaline coursing through his body as he fought alongside Scylla. Every blow they landed was a testament to their friendship and their resolve to protect each other. Finally, after a fierce struggle, they emerged victorious. The last hunter fell to the ground, groaning in defeat. The cave was quiet, except for the sound of their heavy breathing. Jake and Scylla looked at each other, a mix of disbelief and relief washing over them. "We did it," Scylla said, her voice filled with awe. Jake smiled, feeling a sense of accomplishment. "We fought together and won. We took a stand." But they knew the fight wasn't over. The hunters might come back, and they still needed to send a message to Zinfar. With renewed determination, they quickly returned to the ship to finish their signal device. This was just the beginning of their journey, and together, they would face whatever came next. A new beginning. As the dust settled in the cave, Jake and Scylla took a moment to catch their breath. The fight with the hunters had been intense, but together they had prevailed. Now, with the immediate danger behind them, they needed to focus on their next steps. "Let's finish the signal device," Jake said, his voice steady with determination. He looked at Scylla, who was already gathering the remaining parts from the ship. Scylla nodded, her expression fierce and focused. "If we can send this signal, my people will know where to find me. They can help us." With a shared sense of purpose, they quickly got to work. Scylla explained each step as they connected wires and adjusted the energy core. "If we can boost the signal, they will receive it even if they are far away," she said, her eyes shining with excitement. As they worked, Jake couldn't help but feel a sense of hope looming inside him. Not long ago, he had felt lost and afraid. Now, standing side by side with Scylla, he felt stronger than ever. They were partners in every sense of the word, fighting not just for survival, but for a future they could shape together. Finally, after what felt like hours of intense focus, Scylla stepped back and admired their work. "It's done," she exclaimed. "Now we just need to power it up and send the signal." Jake felt a rush of excitement. "Let's do it." He activated the device, and it sprang to life, humming with energy. A bright light pulsed from the signal array, filling the cave with a warm glow. "Now I'll send the message," Scylla said, her fingers flying over the controls. "This will tell my people where I am, and that I need help." As she worked, Jake stood by, watching in awe. He felt proud of how far they had come. From strangers to friends to allies in battle, they had faced danger together and emerged stronger, ready to take on whatever lay ahead. The device beeped and crackled, and finally, Scylla smiled. "It's sent. Now we wait." Jake's heart raced with anticipation. "How long do you think it will take?" "Hopefully not long," Scylla replied. "But we should prepare just in case the hunters come back." With renewed energy, they gathered supplies from the ship, readying themselves for whatever might come. Jake felt a sense of unity with Scylla, knowing they were in this together. As they worked, they shared stories and laughter, the fear from earlier beginning to fade. Hours passed, and the cave was quiet, except for the sound of the waterfall and their occasional whispers. Just as Jake was beginning to wonder if they would ever hear from her people, a low rumble echoed from the sky outside. "Did you hear that?" Silara asked, her eyes wide with hope. Jake nodded, his heart pounding. "It sounds like a ship." They rushed to the cave entrance and looked up into the sky. A sleek, bright spaceship descended from the clouds, its lights flashing in the darkening sky. It was beautiful, a stark contrast to the dark forest surrounding them. Silara's face lit up with joy. "That's them. My people have come for me." As the ship landed nearby, Jake felt a mix of emotions. He was happy for Silara, but he also knew this was the end of their time together, at least for now. Silara turned to him, her eyes shining with gratitude. "Thank you for everything, Jake. You saved me, and you have shown me that humans can be kind and brave." Jake smiled, feeling a lump in his throat. "And you've shown me what true friendship looks like. I'll never forget this journey." As the hatch of the spaceship opened, a group of Xantharian soldiers stepped out. They looked serious but relieved to see Silara. "We've come to take you home," one of them said, nodding respectfully at her. Silara turned to Jake one last time, her expression filled with warmth. "This is not goodbye forever. We will meet again, I promise." Jake nodded, feeling the surge of hope. "I'll be waiting." As she stepped toward her people, Jake watched with a mix of pride and sadness. Silara had come into his life like a shooting star, and though their paths were now diverging, he knew this was just the beginning of something greater. He would always carry her spirit with him, and they would face whatever came next, no matter the distance between them. With one last smile, Silara turned and boarded the ship. As it lifted off, Jake felt a sense of peace wash over him. This was a new beginning for both of them, a chance to grow and fight for a brighter future, together, even if they were worlds apart.